Good morning and welcome to my left ear. And most importantly, happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you. I even have it in bold in green on my screen. It's March 17th and it's video 198. So I could not find one thing in my closet or my drawers that was green. So that showed me, I guess, I don't like to wear green. I looked and this is the best I could do. This is a little old and it's like kind of a dark green. So anyway, happy St. Patty's Day. And as you know, I don't talk a lot at the beginning now. I've changed that so we can get right to the good stuff. So everything you might want to know, how to contact me, a pricing sheet, about me, about my books, is below. And I will do short consultations when you're serious, at no charge. So there you go. And here we go. Today, I'm just focusing on some good news. And then there's critical stuff going on. Of course, there's critical stuff going on. But I decided I wanted to just focus on some good news today. It's St. Patty's Day. And then I'll come back for the more critical material. That's because there's plenty of that going on. But this is a mix and mostly it's positive. It's the mood I'm in. And in terms of my Patreon channel, I shared some personal things last week and I got some wonderful responses. And I want to thank Sherry and I want to thank Eva, unless it's Ava. And I want to thank Carol for very kind responses to my personal stories. Really appreciated it. And there might be more, but I haven't checked. So if I left you out, I apologize. I'm going to check back. All right. So this morning, Nathan Wade, who's, been in front of this investigation in Georgia because he dated Fani Willis after he was hired to be, I guess, the assistant prosecutor. So he resigned. Immediately because the judge he issued an ultimatum that she can continue with the prosecution of the RICO case, but not with Nathan Wade. So Wade stepped aside immediately and said he was doing it for the sake of democracy. This was the right thing to do. So that Fani, who they're still friends, can proceed unencumbered. However, for whatever reason, Wade accepted an invitation to appear on Meet the Press this morning with Kristen Welker. In fact, yesterday, Kristen Welker proudly announced that he was going to be a guest. And then there was a tsunami of outrage. That was like, don't do this. This is a terrible idea. I agreed. Terrible idea. Well, last night, evidently, he canceled that appearance. He said it was a family emergency. We don't know if that's the case. But my left ear feels that maybe a fellow attorney or a really good friend called him and said, not a good idea, dude. It's an awful idea. And you're setting yourself up and you're setting Fani up. And he heard it. And he wasn't interviewed by Kristen Welker. I'm sure Kristen Welker was really disappointed. But she doesn't necessarily always do a great job. And if he was going to do this, it shouldn't have been with her. And I say, amor fati, the love of fate. This is the way it turned out. It's going to move forward. It's delayed, but RICO is moving forward. And there's any number of brilliant prosecutors that she can assign as the replacement. But I consider this good news. RICO is moving forward. Now, here's another one. I'm just going to go through all this stuff that I think is positive. I put this on my community section, but in case everybody didn't see it, this was posted on March 13th, that women voters prefer President Biden to Trump by a very lopsided margin of Biden 58% and Trump 36%. Huge margin. Very good news. I loved this story, and it comes under like good evidence. But Houston, Texas, ticketed 90 people for feeding the homeless. But here's the great news. No jury will convict them for feeding the homeless. Isn't that cool? And it just shows you that it's possible to push back on Greg Abbott. And this was the legal system. A jury said, no way. We are not going to charge people who feed the homeless. We're not going to jail people who feed the homeless. Yes, so I wanted to share that with you. Now, I don't know if you knew this, but I keep changing Pastor Johnson's long list of nicknames that I have given him and others. But pastor, speaker, pervert, coup planner, and murderer of the Ukrainian people had invited all the GOP to go on a retreat where they could bond and they could pray. And there was a House Republican, I don't know who said this, it's so great. He said he wasn't attending, and it was a male. He said, I'd rather sit down with Hannibal Lecter and eat my own liver than go to this GOP gathering. Pretty funny, right? They don't like Johnson, you know, and he's not going to last. I mean, everybody is talking that Hakeem Jeffries is just a blip away from becoming the new speaker. Now, Nancy Pelosi said he'd become the new speaker in 25, but I think it's going to be before 25. Love us some Hakeem Jeffries. Just a really smart man, balanced man, fair man, great service to our country is what I was trying to say. So here's whopping good news, because money tells us a lot. Money speaks. Follow the money. There's a reason for all of that. So in Biden's campaign coffers, I had mentioned this before, his team brought in $10 million in the 24 hours after the State of the Union. But as of today, President Biden has accumulated $155 million in campaign donations, and they are using it really well because these wonderful videos and responses are going out. He has a great team. And let me just add that none of that $155 million in Biden's campaign coffer is about spending money on his legal expenses and his attorneys. Yes, that's right. All right, so you know I talk about Simon Rosenberg, this wonderful Democratic, the last time I spoke, I kind of talked about his background, but I don't have it written here. But Simon Rosenberg, you should follow him. He let us know that the crime rates for immigrants and undocumented immigrants are far lower than that of native-born Americans and the Republican nominee for president. So Simon's newsletter, actually I'm reading this and I'm not sure what I'm reading. I don't know what it means. I'm sorry about this. I'm stopping. And the Republican nominee for president, lower than native-born Americans. All right, from Simon's newsletter, central GOP attacks against Biden are evaporating. That's the word he used. And he wrote, it's a big deal because voters are feeling much better about the economy. Okay. And then, you know, this name I'm going to say out loud is not good news. This name I'm going to say is really a joke. The woman with lips, Lara Trump. And I always like to say her lips enter a room before she does. And if you're laughing, that's great. So conservative Navy veteran Dan Stillwell said, quote, "I will not donate another penny to the GOP as long as she is involved in its leadership." So Laura and her lips, not so good. He wrote, "I am done. I am done." And we are seeing a Republican exodus from the RNC as following the announcement of Lara Trump. And, you know, we know this thing about who the mad cow, that's my nickname for Trump, the mad cow, because it's like he's got mad cow disease. He only chooses people that he feels will watch his back, do his dirty deeds, so on and so forth. So down the road, I think Lara could get into legal trouble, and other people have tweeted about that too. Same thoughts. So that's that. And Michael McFaul, who is really intelligent, he's the former ambassador to Russia. He knows a lot. He's responding to a comment by Putin, and it's just good for you to hear this. Michael McFaul says NATO will never attack Russia and never will unless Russia attacks a NATO ally first. He went on to say, everyone knows this, including Putin. So I think this is in response to Putin talking about his nuclear weapons a week or so ago. So I'm going to go back to the RNC and Lara Trump, and I meant to put those two things together, but I'm calling it the RNC massacre of 60 MAGA employees just wiped out, gone, you're fired. And it's very much like a mob hit. So it reminded me of the St. Valentine's Day massacre that took place in Chicago many years ago. And I'll just read what I researched here. It was an attempt to eliminate a mobster named Bugs Moran, who was head of the North Side Gang in Chicago. Al Capone, famous guy, was widely assumed to have been responsible for ordering the massacre. The impetus for the murders may have been the North Side Gang's hijacking of some expensive whiskey being illegally smuggled by Capone's gang from Canada across the Detroit River. So this massacre of the RNC, which is getting rid of Rana, who I didn't like, and putting Lara in and his people, just reminded me. And, you know, I think like 2020 should bring together all those people that lost their jobs in a minute at the RNC and see who they're going to vote for in 2024. See who all those members of the RNC who got fired are going to vote for. All right. It was ugly. And yeah, it's part of their 2025 plan, which they're working on right now. But I'm going to keep telling you, Biden is going to win the election. Okay. Just remember, the TV shows make money off of their, you know, fear, and they have to keep people entertained. Okay. So if I think they all privately know that Biden's going to win, but it's like, no, we got to keep these balls in the air. We got to keep the fear in the air. We got to keep the paranoia in the air. But I'm just telling you this. And then d.corn, who had been a full-fledged Republican and is now, it's not that he's flipped to democracy exactly, but he's very determined that Trump does not get in. So he's made a big So David Corn is Mother Jones' Washington bureau chief and an on-air analyst for MSNBC. He's even working with Fred Guttenberg, who lost his daughter to gun violence. And he is the author of a book called American Psychosis. I think that's the best title. And he co-authored with Michael Isikoff a book called Russian Roulette, The Inside Story of Putin's War on America and the Election of Donald Trump. It's a long title. And he also is the author of 3 New York Times bestsellers. He's a smart guy. Now, what's really cool here is he just wrote a long, positive article about Kamala Harris. Yes, he did. And the title of it is It's Time to Unleash Kamala Harris / to Trigger Trump. And he wrote it on the 16th, just yesterday. And it gives her a big boost because her profile is becoming more and more important. I don't remember if I mentioned this. I've been on the air for over 3 years now, but when my brother was alive, and my brother died almost 3 years ago, so it was before my brother died, I was talking to him one day on the phone. I had seen a picture of Kamala Harris. I'm going to try to find it. I think I still have it somewhere, where she's walking the steps to the Capitol. She's wearing high heels and a suit, a skirt suit, and she looked unbelievably powerful. And I was talking to my brother, who was really smart, and but he hadn't heard of Kamala Harris. And my brother was in Chicago. So I said to him one day on the phone, "Do you know who Kamala Harris is?" And he said, "No, I don't." I said, "Well, you got to look her up." I said, because I'm making a prediction. She's going to end up in the White House. And so he did look her up, and then he talked with me about it later on and said, boy, he really liked her and thanked me for introducing me to her. And so when she pulled out of the presidential run, I was surprised because this vision of her being in the White House was exactly the way I get information, fast, okay? But she's in the White House. She's in the White House, just like I thought over 3 years ago. It's a good sign. It's a good sign. And she's like, this is me, this is my left ear. She's being prepared and mentored in the best possible way if she has to take over at some point. And I have only good feelings about her. And if you want to think about when she was interviewing those horrible Supreme Court candidates to be justice who got voted in, try to remember how she was when she questioned people. There was this laser intelligence when she was questioning people and listening and responding. She's powerful and will become more powerful. All right, moving on now. My left ear. This is from my left ear. The Stormy Daniels hush money election interference case, headed up by Mr. Bragg, is now put off for 30 days, maybe a little bit more. I'm sure you've heard of this, because there were a lot of documents that were requested to be sent over before this trial, and they were not. And they arrived like 2 days ago, and there's thousands and thousands of documents that have to be gone through. So this gaffe delays the trial. And nobody really is, people are blaming Merrick Garland, people are blaming all kinds, there's lots of blame. But I tell you what, my left ear, I think it was an inside job. I think there's still some operatives in the New York District Attorney's Office, and they just held on. Turns out these papers evidently are not crucial, but they're going to delay, and that's what Trump wants, the delay. But all that said, Alvin Bragg's case with Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen is proceeding. So we're going to continue with that. That's good. Now, my left ear, a while back, has told you, we think, when I say we, I'm not schizophrenic. It's me and my left ear. It's like, I agree with it. I'm not questioning my left ear. Sometimes I do. We have envisioned that there would be 1 or 2 trials that will actually happen before the presidential election. And I was happy to hear yesterday that Jill Wine-Banks, it's not that she was agreeing with me, but she said the same thing. I think it was either last night or this morning. So that's, she's our Watergate lady. What's her book? The Watergate Girl? Anyway, Jill Wine-Banks. Now, this came to me a few days ago, and then this morning it was like, do it. So now we're coming to the end now. And I took the runes right before I came on, like just minutes ago. And I said, because I'd written this question, and I went, yeah, you know what, I'm just going to do this today. So, I warmed them up for the people that are studying the runes. I mean, I really do. And then I put my hand inside, and I warmed them up. And the runes that I end up with kind of stick to my fingertip. And I can feel it. It's the correct rune. And if you're starting it, just practice with that, with how it feels. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that happened this morning. And where is it? I pulled it out. Oh no, did I put it back in the bag? All right, oh, there it is. I did pull it out. So my question this morning was, will Donald Trump stroke out, like a stroke, in the next 3 months? Okay, so I got the rune Stand Still. And as I always tell you, this is the chilliest and coldest rune to receive. I got this once or twice about Ginny Thomas, so I think her day is coming. But anyway, I got Stand Still. And I didn't pull anymore because sometimes I've been doing it for so long, I don't need to pull anymore. This is significant. And let me read you Stand Still. It represents the properties of ice. The winter of your spiritual life is upon you, mad cow. You may find yourself entangled in a situation to whose implications you are, in effect, blind. And I want to say, no, she ought. You may feel powerless to do anything except submit, surrender, even sacrifice some long-cherished desire. No presidency, no presidency. And it says, be patient, for this is the period of gestation before a rebirth. In Trump's case, he's either going to drop or he's going to end up in jail. Stand Still is not a good rune, okay? So I just wanted you to see that. Now, there's more. Positive accomplishment is unlikely right now. I jumped a page. So there is a freeze on useful activity because this rune represents the properties of ice. Ice, okay? You may be entangled in a situation to whose implications you are, in effect, blind. He's blind to a lot of things. You may have to submit, mad cow, okay? This is not your nature. Be prepared to spend some time waiting, and don't depend on others right now. Simply submit and be still. I just love that I got that. So we're not going to do a long one today. Here's the quote. But I'm going to come back like probably Tuesday, and I'm going to get into more of the weeds and stuff that are the weeds, I wanted to stay with some like uplifting stuff today, you know, to see that there's energy going in our direction. So here's the quote by famous author, philosopher, spiritualist, Carlos Castaneda. And he said, "We either make ourselves miserable or we make ourselves happy. The amount of work is the same." I thought that was great. The amount of work is the same. And now that we're at the end, I'm just going to share with you. I don't remember what I tell you or what I tell Patreon. Well, I mean, mostly I do, but I shared a lot of personal stuff on Patreon this previous week. And one of them was I got rear-ended after the rains when it was sunny and dry, and I was doing nothing except the light turned green, the car in front of me. I always leave room, and I was just waiting for the slow progression through the intersection, which wasn't a crazy intersection, just a neighborhood intersection with a light, and I got boom, rear-ended from behind. I mean, boom. And I went, whoa, snap back, and I was in my seatbelt. So I get out, and it was, I don't want to be too descriptive here because it could sound icky, but it was a woman driving and a man, and it was kind of a rundown car. And she got out, and I said, you know, we don't have to argue about this, okay? But I was in so much shock, and I'm going to admit to you my error. Really feel stupid, but I know everybody has felt stupid. I neglected to get her license plate. I neglected to take a picture. I was like so just blindsided by it. And then the couple tried to tell me that nothing had happened to my bumper, but there's like a slice in the middle of my bumper, scratches, some of the rubber is detached. So I said, don't even go there. I just had this car to the shop to get little scratches in the front fixed, and there was nothing wrong with my bumper. Don't even go there. And then she tried to tell me I did something wrong. And I said, well, California's no fault if I'm rear-ended. And I was not moving. Well, here's the upshot. She turns out, because Geico couldn't help me find, they found her phone number, but they're not legally let me have her phone number. But I have a friend who loves to do investigative journalism, and she did a bunch. So she found out all these various addresses the woman has had in Northern California. She found out that she has traffic violations. She has had bail at some point, and she has appeared not in traffic court, but in superior court. So the person who rear-ended me is on the lam. We can't find her, but I'm not giving up. I called a private investigator. I've talked to Geico 3 times, and the third person I talked to at Geico was incredible. Found out that this woman was driving a junk rental car. It wasn't hers. So the license plate might not even, but she found out that there was a claim, and she reported this rear-ending to the rental place. And there are, I guess, there's a name for it. I don't have it in front of me, but there are rental places, or they're almost like our Airbnb. I couldn't think of it. Where maybe I take my Elantra and I let somebody rent it through this company. So now there's the Geico woman who was incredible, said, let's just be patient. I put a marker on this claim that it's going to be regularly checked on. It may take a little bit longer, but I talked to that insurance company, and they're going to get back to us. So there's a whole record of it. So there's progress there. Wanted to share that because it's just a wild story. It wasn't just anybody who rear-ended me. It was like a little criminal. but we think we're going to find her. Just sharing. All right, so I'm going to be back in a couple of days. I'm going to get into more of the weeds of what's going on, because every day there's something new. But maybe listen to this twice. Maybe listen to this twice, okay? All right, you have a good St. Patty's Day, and you just have a good day. And I will talk to you in a few, all right? Take care. Bye-bye.